Welcome, everyone. I'm so thrilled that you're here to join us today. We have a really exciting presentation for you from a team at Oneonta that I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves as they go along for optimizing time and that sort of thing, and for the flow of the presentation. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself in the chat, letting us know where you're from, what campus you're from, institution if you're not from SUNY. That's helpful for us to know. We're thrilled that you could join us today. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Rachel Fest from Oneonta. She'll get us started. Thanks, Rachel.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much, Erin. Welcome. We're glad to see everyone who's able to join us today. And up on the screen now, you can see the QR code that would allow you to access our slides if you'd like to save them or refer to them. So this presentation is one that our team initially gave at CIT last year. And Erin asked us to come back because some of the AI assignments and innovations that our faculty are sharing might be of interest to others across the system. So this presentation is entitled AI Tools Community of Practice, Supporting AI Innovations in the Classroom Through Interdisciplinary Conversation. And I'll just briefly say a little bit about who we are, although each one of our presenters will be giving a little bit more information about themselves. So my name is Rachel Fest, and I'm a specialist in pedagogy at SUNY Oneonta in our Faculty Center for Teaching, Learning, and Scholarship. And I initially led a group of faculty in coming together around a community of practice related to AI innovations in the classroom last year. And our other panelists who will speak about their experiences and AI assignments and integrations are Dr. Liao Pan from business, Dr. Gina Solano from ed tech, and Dr. Wen from secondary ed and educational technology. So I'm just going to very briefly say a little bit about our community of practice, and then we'll hear from each of our faculty members about the AI integrations that they were working on that kind of came out of this interdisciplinary work, and you can hear more about them in a moment. So just to give a little more context, the AI Tools Community of Practice, which we launched in 2023, 2024, brought together a group of 5 to 10 faculty from across the disciplines. We had a big group at first and a big, commitment of folks who were able to come for a few months. And then as time went on, we had a smaller group who was able to stick with our schedule of meetings and kind of our goals that we developed together. So this group of faculty met monthly, and the goals that we came up with as a community of practice were that we wanted to explore new AI tools. We wanted to share and evaluate assignments integrating AI. And we also talked about and shared solutions to assessment issues. So at Oneonta, our communities of practice are oriented toward working on a specific topic or theme or set of questions with the aim of producing deliverables or producing new work together. And in this case, it was creating and sharing those assignments related to AI, and talking about some of the broader AI related issues that people were encountering that drove our work. And then finally, we also were able to read and discuss the book, The AI Classroom, which one of our members, Gina, who should be with us today, had recommended. And that was the basis for some of our conversations about teaching prompting, teaching critical evaluations of AI. And the final thing I'll say before I turn it over to Liao is that this work inspired a project that this academic year we're implementing with funding from IITG. So the group has kind of changed. It's now a stipended program that has brought together, I think on our campus, 15 members And we're also working with 5 other campuses who are implementing a similar professional development program. But we're offering stipends to faculty essentially for creating AI assignments in their classrooms that are critical, active, and inclusive. So this initial community brought people together on our campus to try to support the big changes that many felt they were facing as students were increasingly using AI tools. And it also inspired a more formal community of practice that linked our campus with other campuses and also offered funding to support this important work. So I'm going to conclude there and just turn things over to Liao. And Liao, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good noon, everyone. I'm Liao Pan, and I'm now an assistant professor of management at SUNY Oneonta, and it has been my 5th year as a professor of management at this university. And today, I'm going to start my presentation by introducing a role play simulation I designed in May last year, entitled "The ChatGPT Generated Role Play on Employee Motivation." In this simulation, I used the ChatGPT not just as a content generator, but as an active simulation partner to support the real-time role-play interaction with my students from my Fundamentals of Management course. Yeah, Rachel, could you please proceed to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. And this role play simulation was initiated using so this page. This role play simulation was initiated using the prompts I provided to the ChatGPT. And so here are the prompts as you can find from the chat box. So in the prompts, I asked the ChatGPT to create the specific scenario and the dialogues between the managers and the 2 employees based on the cues I provided in the chat box. And so, for example, I asked the ChatGPT to create a workplace scenarios based on two motivational theories, which are the Hertzberg 2-factor theories and the Verron's expectancy theories. And so I also asked the ChatGPT to create the 2 employee personas for me who are lacking their workplace motivations for 2 different reasons. So the first employee lack the motivation due to the fact that he cannot find the meaningfulness in his job. And the second employee lacks the motivation because he believes that his job is characterized by very low pay and there's not enough job resources to support his work. So these are some of the cues I put into the chat box and ask the ChatGPT to create the specific scenarios for me. Yeah, Rachel, could you please proceed to the next slide? Thank you. Yeah, and so based on the prompts I put in the previous slide, here you can find the role play scenarios powered by the ChatGPTs. And so the scenarios was as follows. The manager is working with the 2 employees who shows signs of low workplace motivation. And employee A, his name is Alex. And Alex lacks the intrinsic motivation and feels his job has no meaning at all. And the second employee B, his name is Taylor. And Taylor lacks the external motivation, and his lack of external motivation is impacted by the low pay, very limited job resources, and the lack of the recognitions from the manager. So that's the scenarios powered by the ChatGPT based on the cues I entered into the chat box. Rachel, could you please proceed to the next slide? Thank you. Yeah. And so on this page, you can find the first dialogue created by ChatGPT between the manager whose name is Jamie, and the first employee, Alex, so who is lacking his workplace motivation. And so this provided the essential context for the final simulation stage. So students, in the final simulation stage, students will step into the manager roles. Rachel, could you please go to the next slide? Yeah, so on this slide, you can find the second dialogue between Jamie, so who is still the manager in the team, and Taylor, so who is the other employee lacking his workplace motivation. Yeah, so these two pages are the two specific dialogues between the managers and the two employees. And based on the dialogues between the managers and the two different employees lacking motivations, the last stage of the simulation is to ask my management students to interact with the ChatGPT. So my students is going to step into the role of Jamie, so who is the manager. And they will talk to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is going to acting as one of the employees who lack the motivation. So let's take a look at the most exciting part of this simulation. Rachel, could you, yeah. So this is the end of the simulation. And so at the end of the simulation, our students play the role of manager Jamie and interact with one of the employees. And so his name is Taylor. So Taylor is played by the ChatGPT. So the student role playing the manager in a simulated conversation with the employee Taylor proposed a cross-department collaboration project. And to address Taylor's concern with a lack of sufficient job resources. And so, yeah, you can find the specific dialogues between the students, Jamie and Taylor, so who is played by the ChatGPT. So the end of the simulation is the most exciting part because students will have a chance to step into the roles of the manager and interact with the ChatGPT in real time. I want to continue my presentation, but there is a challenge. So when I want to implement this teaching pedagogy during this semester, I have identified a challenge. And Taylor, could you please go to the next slide?
Is that right, Leo?
Oh, I guess the slide may not. Yeah. So
This
this
one?
slide.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. Thank you. However, I soon realized a practical issue. The issue is that not all students had the access to ChatGPT 4.0, which is the advanced and paid version. So this meant some students couldn't fully engage in high-quality voice-based simulation. So to address this issue, I adapted a structured and accessible alternative, so which is a business simulation developed by a company based in London, Body Swips. And this simulation is focused on resolving conflict in the workplace. And so during the simulation, students will have a chance to step into the role of an HR consultant by providing the specific suggestions to Jeremy. So the man you can find from the picture is the manager, Jeremy. And Jeremy was displaying a lot of inappropriate leadership behaviors toward one of the team members whose name is Florence. And so students will have a chance to step into the role of HR professionals, giving some suggestions to correct Jeremy's inappropriate behaviors. And so the students do not have to pay the license fees for these simulations. And I secured the grants from both internally and externally to pay the license fees for students to use this simulation. Rachel, could you go to the last slide? Yeah. So to further engage the students in the role play activity, I designed another real-time student-led simulation. And this time, our students negotiated in pairs based on a fictional but a realistic contract renew scenario involving a TV show, a hit TV show, and a streaming services platform. And so on the left side of the slide, you can find the specific role play activity scenario that is created by the ChatGPT based on the cues I type into the chat box. And so based on this role play activity guidelines and rubrics, so the two students, so these are the basic two performers in my class to do the role play activity. One of the students was playing the producer for a hit TV show, such as Friends or any other hit TV shows that comes to your mind. And the other student is playing as a streaming services platform, such as Netflix, Hulu, who broadcast these TV shows. And they are negotiating and debating with each other for a renewal price. Yeah, so that's the entire part for this role play activity. Yeah, and so the last two slides indicate how I adapt these role play activities based on students' limited access to the ChatGPT advanced version. Yeah, so that's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Gina Solano, and I teach in the graduate program for educational technology here at SUNY Oneonta. And it's my pleasure to be here and to share with you some of the strategies and assignments that I have had my students complete. Next slide, please. Thank you. So my students are graduate students. They're mostly K-12 teachers in area schools all across New York State, teaching in a variety of grades and circumstances, charter schools, private schools, and public schools. And so some of the examples I'm showing today are from two different courses. I also teach an undergraduate pre-service teacher education program or course, excuse me, and I'll be sharing an assignment from that as well. So as educators, I feel it's really important that I'm modeling and helping my teachers, my pre-service and current teachers to learn how to use and adopt AI tools. And many of you are probably aware that there are just dozens and dozens of AI tools specifically designed for teachers, for K-12 education, and that are now being able to be used in higher ed situations as well. So what I recommend is when you're designing an assignment, you specify an AI tool. Once in a while, I'll give them a choice of a couple, but it's really better if the instructor does the research and selects a particular AI tool and then helps students to learn how to use that particular one. And then model it in class. I teach online, so sometimes that's really hard to do unless I want to record a video or I find YouTube videos and I put on my Brightspace that shows how to model and how to use these new tools. And then I try to have students reflect on their use of the AI tool, either in an online discussion or in a class discussion, or as part of their assignment to answer some reflection questions. Next slide, please. So for this course, this is an online discussion assignment. This is an online discussion assignment, and the link goes to the assignment, so I don't know if you want to open it or not, but that's fine. The lesson objectives link. So what I'm doing here is I'm using technology to collect, manage, and analyze data to improve teaching and learning, evaluate online assessment tools, and design two different assessments. One that provides qualitative data and one that provides quantitative data. And then they're to assess the data and explain how to use it to improve student learning. And so for this online discussion, my students had to create a qualitative assessment for their ELLs and a quantitative assessment for their special ed students. I think I might have that switch, but one is for one group and one is for the other group. Can you click on that link, the lesson objectives link in the slide? Nope. Okay.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I've been
Okay.
having trouble with I'm using my computer at home, and so I'm having a little trouble with Zoom, and let me ask everyone to forgive me. But yeah, let me see, Gina, if I can click here.
That's okay. You can go back and we don't have to show it. I was going to just show the assignment
Here.
and the reflection question.
It did appear, so let me
Okay.
share again, and hopefully we can yeah, get this working a little bit better.
All right. So I designed everything first on a document before I put it into Brightspace. So you're basically seeing what looks like a typical assignment in my Brightspace course. So if you'll scroll up, please. So all my courses I align to the ISTE standards, and there's those same lesson objectives that I showed you earlier. But scroll up a little bit, keep going. And so stop here. So for this assignment, they're specifically using Magic School, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I think hopefully those slides show up. And so Magic School, if you're not aware, is designed for educators. You can use it in higher ed, even though it's kind of more designed for K-12. And it has, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 dozen different tools, AI tools that you can use for all different types of tasks and assignments. And so on number 5 here, it says they're going to be using a text leveler tool. So I specified the particular tool within the AI platform that I want them to experiment with. So for the directions on 5, they're designing a special education assignment, and they have to simplify text. So we're assuming that we have special ed students that maybe are not reading on grade level, and they're to copy a piece of text, use this text leveler tool, and then they can follow up by having the AI assistant create multiple choice questions. You can have it write short answer essay questions, any type of comprehension questions that you want based on that text that you put in Magic School. If I were doing this, I would take you right to Magic School, but I could put slides in the next one. So hopefully, if we can jump back to the presentation, or we can spend one more. Okay, never mind. I just one more thought on that one, but that's okay.
Okay, yeah, let me go back to
yeah, it's hard when we're not controlling it ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't jump around anymore. I promise. We'll stay on the presentation.
No problem. And I'll just say one more time, we did share the QR code to access the slides at the beginning of the presentation, but I'll put it in the chat again in a moment so that folks who didn't get it initially can access those slides.
Great. Okay. So on that previous assignment, I was going to show you the reflection and the critical analysis questions that I had before we jump back here, but just know that that's an important part of using the tool, practicing with it, having them critique it, look at it. Is it doing what I want it to do? Is it creating the right type of materials, asking the right type of questions for my students at the appropriate levels? And so it's really important that we're teaching those practices to educators, so we're not just kind of getting in the habit of copying and pasting and just delivering whatever the AI tool produces to our class. On this next project here, this is a different course, and we're using AI in the role as helping students to create digital escape rooms, or AI and gamification. And Dr. Wen and I are doing this in our undergraduate pre-service teacher course. This course, the end project, they're creating a digital escape room using Google Sites and lots of the Google apps that we've learned throughout the semester. And they were tasked to use AI to help brainstorm ideas for clues, puzzles, riddles, all those fun things that you find in a digital escape room, which we have noticed the more that we've done this and the better that the instructors have gotten, the better results that our students have. And uh, we're really impressed with the quality of materials and the quality of the game designs that the students are coming up with, because they're using AI just for the brainstorming, but the AI is not creating the website for them. The AI is not putting the website together. So it's not an assignment that the AI can do, but it can help them to think through some of the steps of building the storyline and building the clues. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so it looks like this is not the updated one that I updated this morning. Okay. So I don't know. I had some examples in here of the escape rooms.
It's possible that you used the other link. This is the one that others were able to update, so I'm not sure what.
I just did the online
link. If you have it open and want to share, well,
okay.
Actually, Erin, I'm not sure if Gina's able to share her screen.
She is, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me just I will just jump to an escape room and I'll show that if I can get to it super quick here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let me just share this, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so you should be seeing, it says Hercules at the top here. And so this is an example of one of the products that we had students do in groups of 2 or 3. Some of the groups asked AI to help them write their little storyline that provided the context for their game. And here we have a really good example of a variety of clues and clue types that the group was able to come up with. And we know that they used AI because at the end of the assignment, we gave them a template to be able to fill in with their different clues, the sequence of activities. And at the end, we asked them to reflect on their use of it and what areas did they use AI. Some groups didn't use it at all, which we actually found really interesting because we kind of assumed that if we let students use AI, they're all going to use it. And that's not the case. As of right now, it's not the case. But this particular group had lots of great ideas, and they used a variety of clues. They customized their own different Google Maps. They got ideas to use crossword puzzles, Morse codes, different types of ciphers, and I think, yeah, different types of ciphers and different types of activities and tech tools. So this is a Quizlet right here that they've used. And so some of these ideas, again, came from class, and some of these ideas came from their brainstorming using the AI tools. And so for those tools, it was usually Copilot, Perplexity, or ChatGPT. So that's all I have to share. Rachel, we can go ahead and put back the presentation, and I will look for the updated link and I can put it in the chat as Dr. Wen is talking.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gina.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we got our slides crossed. And
Okay.
yeah, if you are able to share that additional info or add it to this presentation through that link, then we can pass those slides on. But yes, I will share the presentation again so that Wen can get started.
Hello, everyone, and I'm Wen, and also I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Secondary Education and Educational Technology, and I also work with Dr. Solano in Educational Technology program for the master student. So this is my practice with AI and how I implemented that in my classroom for pre-service teachers, and this practice turned out to be a qualitative exploratory study that has been published in December last year. Could you please advance? Okay, so this is a context. So this study conducted in like a small private university and the middle-sized public university in the Northeast region of the United States. So basically it's here. So I had 16 undergraduate students. They were pre-service teachers majoring in different concentrations like early childhood education, special education, and secondary education in different subjects like ESL, ELA, and social studies. So we had 16 undergraduates who were pre-service teachers. We did next slide, and we did a practice with them, asked them to use generative AI to support their instructional design. So in our class, we deliver a 3-hour workshop by employing 5E model: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So you can see this is our learning activities with AI integration in the class. Basically, we engage students to learn some basic knowledge of generative AI. We ask them to explore the features and the functions of AI tools, and also we give them some hands-on activities and ask them to explain their rationale of interacting with AI tools, and they share in the classroom and they give out each other's feedback. Next slide. So during the poll processes, we ask the student to use AI to design a lesson plan that can be used to teach struggling readers to secondary like teaching settings. So we observe their processes because we ask a student to video record their screen, and also they had to think aloud, that means articulate what they were thinking during interacting with AI. So after that, we collect all those videos and we observe the students' processes of interacting with AI to create their instruction unit plan. So we found that students engage in 4 processes. They prompt, they engage in prompt engineering, they engage in evaluation and the modification and the synthesis. So interestingly, we found that students didn't just simply copy and paste what that generative AI generates into their unit plan. Actually, they did some critical evaluation of AI-generated outputs. So let's look at each processes. The first one is prompting. There was a characteristic that the prompt from very general prompt to more specific prompt. So it's like a spectrum. For example, some students just craft a prompt like write me a literacy unit plan on the book and the book title, and some other students give more specific prompts, like they specify the unit plan should include 5 lessons and it include essential questions, objectives, standards, and activities. At the final, they should be a summative assessment. So we can see students have different levels of crafting prompts when they interacted with AI. So in the evaluation processes, just as I said, students didn't simply copy and paste AI-generated content. They evaluate AI output in terms of accuracy, relevancy, applicability, and specificity. What do we mean by accuracy? It's easy to understand the accuracy or reliability of information. And the relevance means how relevant the information from ChatGPT is to what the pre-service teachers are trying to do. And the applicability is how helpful ChatGPT information is for what the pre-service teachers are trying to achieve. And the specificity is how much details the ChatGPT can provide for what the pre-service teachers are trying to do. And also the multiplication, we observed pre-service teachers, they either work on the input or work on the output. For example, they were trying to refine, or giving follow-up questions as further prompt to elicit ChatGPT's responses. Or they work on the output. They rewrote, revised, and refined output generated by ChatGPT. Ultimately, they selected information they collect and generated, and they synthesize and organize them into the UniPlan template. So that's the processes that the pre-service teachers engaged when they interact with ChatGPT to create their UniPlan. Next slide. And also we did a survey with a student asking about their perspectives and the perceptions on use of generative AI in instructional design. We asked the student the role of AI, the role of the educators in the future, and also the challenges of using AI, such as ChatGPT. And we can see students have different levels of understanding of using AI. Some students conceptualize AI as a tool, and some students think AI as assistant, and some students even think AI as a thought partner. It's more like a reciprocal partnership with AI. And also they reconceptualize the role of educators. So educators in the, not in the future, I think in now, this AI-driven the world, educators need to be innovators, educators need to be designers. But they all agree that AI cannot just replace teaching professions, because it still requires teachers' professional knowledge to make judgments on the AI output. And the challenges they face, including prompt engineering, and also about their lack of pedagogical knowledge, which might hinder their performance when they interact with AI. Next slide. So I just listed some pre-service teachers' quotes. I think they're powerful. For example, one student said, ChatGPT supports us with planning. Technology will never be a substitute for human thought, but it can be assistant into our growth as educators. So they reflect on their experience and also the role of generative AI in this teaching practice. Next slide. Okay, some applications for instructions in our teacher education program. First, we thought instruction of AI literacy should go beyond show and tell. Sometimes as teacher educators, we offer those workshop or lecture to the students about the basic knowledge of AI, how to use AI, but we need to acknowledge the effectiveness of instruction. If we just give a lecture, it didn't work very well for the students. We need to provide more hands-on activities or case studies to really engage our students to do with AI. So we think the instruction about AI should go beyond show and tell. And other things specifically for teacher education, we think AI literacy should marry TPAC. TPAC is the framework in our teacher education. It's about how pre-service teacher or in-service teachers develop their content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, and the technological knowledge to better support their teaching and the learning practices. And also, because in this practice, we asked the student to pair up. We had 16 students. Ultimately, they pair up and turn in like 8 instructional plan. That means they work in pairs. We think that's a good way to engage students to acquire some knowledge in hands-on activities by working with a partner. So we think reflection and collaboration play a very important role in fostering students' AI literacy, because later we did another study with individual pre-service teachers. So we want to compare the differences between work in pair, work in collaboration, and work individually. But the findings showed, so when the students work individually, their performance was not as good as they work in collaboration. Of course, there might be many reasons to influence that, but we still agree that reflection and collaboration is plays very important role. And also, we argue the ethical use of AI technology needs to be emphasized, because in our study, students barely mention anything about ethical considerations when they interact with AI. I think the biggest concern of the students was plagiarism related issues. They were afraid if they use AI too much, that will be punished by their professors. And also they concern about whether AI will replace their teaching professions in the future. So these are the 2 main concerns of the service teachers. But as we know, ethical awareness and the considerations is a very big topic when we're talking about AI. So we still need to emphasize that even when they evaluate AI-generated content, they still need to evaluate and think in an ethical way, right? So we need to examine in another a deeper way to think about the AI generated content. So that's my practice with AI and my students.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wen. And thanks to all of our presenters as well as to our audience for bearing with us through a couple of technical challenges. So when we presented this work at CIT, we were focused both on giving specific examples from a range of different contexts related to integrating AI in the classroom. And we also wanted to share the kind of the effects of our community of practice from the perspective of professional development and teaching and learning center programming. So we do want to make sure that we have time to answer questions or hear from our audience. So I would invite you to go ahead and put those questions in the chat. We'll move to Q&A in a second. But I thought we'd conclude with just pulling back to that community of practice context. And I would ask our panelists just briefly in conclusion, how did our interdisciplinary community of practice end up informing your teaching? What did you value about that collaborative interdisciplinary environment? And that question was for our panelists. Can you hear me? Okay. So anyone who wants to jump in.
We did not hear the question, and I don't see a question in the chat. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry you weren't able to hear. Okay, yeah. The question was just the question on the final slide, which was asking what you valued or took away from the interdisciplinary conversations within the community of practice.
I'm happy to answer from my perspective. I found it very beneficial to see how professors in different colleges and different content areas were using different AI tools. We learned a lot about AI just from having different professors and staff members contribute and show what they did. We had a lot of like show and tell sessions where somebody would model a new AI tool. As you know, that there's dozens more than just ChatGPT. Also, even just using the basic ones, it was great to see how different people were leveraging it in their classes and using it for different types of purposes and assignments, just getting new ideas, things that you wouldn't have even occurred to you before. I just love how Liao uses it as, as taking the place of another person that they can actually practice having conversations with. So that was something that hasn't occurred to me. And we've had professors from, geology and the sciences who are showing how they would put in a problem and it would be fine the first few steps, but then about halfway through, then the math or the logic was incorrect. And so the importance of understanding that you have to know more than the AI tool and that we have to show students that AI is not going to get it right all the time. So I just found that very, very valuable. And we also had articles that were shared, recommendations for different books, and just a very rich and wonderful opportunity just to exchange ideas, excuse me.
That's great. Thank you so much, Gina. And so I want to invite folks to ask any questions you might have. If you have questions about the community of practice and our approach to professional development, please ask. If you have questions for our specific panelists related to their assignments or their general approaches to AI, please let us know. We're happy to have people unmute and ask or to participate in the chat.
I'll go ahead and kick off, Rachel, and to all the panelists with just a couple comments, actually. I really found it interesting to hear some of the student feedback and perspectives on what they learned about trying to leverage AI. I have a particular affinity for teacher education, but also, Liao, with your examples as well, especially in how this can be used to create scenario-based and case studies for classes. We have had other presentations share about using AI as almost as the other person. So in different situations. So there was one on mental health counseling where the AI was instructed on, you are going to be this particular person with these set of personality traits and yada yada. And so the student could interact with the AI in that way. So there's all kinds of really exciting things that we can be doing with students. And I think your point, Wen, is really well taken, that it's that critical thinking piece and evaluation of what the outputs are that is super important. So I just appreciate everyone's contribution today. And so I'd like to extend Rachel's invitation to everyone on the call. If you have any questions, or if you have other ideas, if you've used AI in some way, it would be great to share that here as well. And you can type or unmute.
Or go ahead. Was that? No? Okay. In the meantime, I think another interesting thing that we could perhaps hear more about. So, this community of practice took place about a year ago. And since Gina, Wen, and Liao have all both implemented additional AI related assignments. And they've also, Wen was able to publish some of her thinking here, and Liao has been tinkering with and updating his assignment in response to different challenges and changes that have come up. So I wonder if our panelists could talk a little bit about how your engagement with AI has changed over time from, when you were first encountering it after December 2022, when ChatGPT emerged as a free tool, to now. I would ask any of our panelists to just talk about how your engagement with it in the classroom has changed.
Yeah, I can share my perspective regarding how I adapted and changed my teaching pedagogy about the use of AI-powered tools. And so I have heard I have heard the ChatGPT about 1.5 years ago from one of the colleagues in the Department of Business. And so at the beginning, when I try out the ChatGPTs, I was just using the tools to create some created the script for the business case study. So yeah, so that's the primary use for ChatGPT. And so one times goes on, I have found out that so I can integrate the ChatGPT into the student experiential learning. And so, for example, the first example I shared with the audience is to ask my students to interact with the ChatGPT for workplace matters. And so last November I attended a teaching workshop at the Harvard Business School. And so one of the audience shared a new AI-powered tools, which is the Google Notebook and LM. I don't know if the audience have heard from these AI-powered tools. And so when he shared this AI-powered tools, so it reminded me that so different students have different learning needs. So some students like the reading the case studies from the slides, while other students like listening, to the podcast from the real people. And then I just integrated the ChatGPT with the Google LM notebook. Yeah, so I can give you a very quick yeah. So in the first place, I just type in the appropriate prompts into the ChatGPT and let the ChatGPT to create the specific case studies for me. And then I copy and paste the script from the ChatGPT into the Google Notebook LM, and the Google Notebook LM will create the podcast based on the real person dialogue. And then I will play the 3 or 5 minutes the podcast in front of my students. Yeah, so I think so this is another effective way to give my students an experience an experiential learning experience, because different students have different needs. Yeah, so this is how I change myself. Yeah.
Thanks, Liao. And we do have a couple questions in the chat now. And Erin, is somebody saying the chat is blocking comments? Is that?
I'm not clear on what that comment is referring to. So the chat boxes are individual. There should not be, there's nothing blocking anything on my screen.
Okay, yes. And for you, Ebbing, the user commenting, I am able to see your comments there. So it does look like they've come through.
Yep.
And maybe we can address those, and you can feel free to unmute as well if you want to jump in. But we have a question in the chat from Bernadette asking, what are your recommendations for institutions to think about as they prepare and start using AI across divisions? And then Ebbing's comment is about the reliability of data sources, especially in a medical context. So yeah, in terms of, I'll just talk a little bit about institutional recommendations or thinking at the level of the institution. This is something that we really were kind of navigating and negotiating within our community of practice because we had faculty from all different fields. And some faculty are aggressively adopting AI use. Other faculty were more concerned with creating AI resistant assignments or dealing with AI, kind of protecting their learning objectives, even as students are using AI increasingly. And I think that's tough from an institutional perspective because this is one of the reasons that I think a lot of universities have resisted developing institution-wide AI policies because people from different disciplines have different needs and approaches related to these emerging tools. And so I think that for us, some of the professional development that we've launched out of the faculty center has tried to be responsive to those different needs and interests that faculty are bringing to the AI context. And to link this actually to the question you asked above, Erin, about whether or not we're collecting these assignments somewhere. This year's community of practice, which again is funded through IITG, the grants for innovative technology at the SUNY level, we will be creating a repository where the assignments that faculty are formalizing now, and Wen and Gina are both participating in this, they will be available later this year in a public-facing open access repository. So I think that, in terms of strategies that are institution-wide, just being aware that a lot of people are bringing different needs and interests here in those different divisions, it's a crucial start. I wonder if one of our panelists would be willing to jump in on this question of reliable data sources. Gina and Wen, you were both talking about teaching critical reflection when engaging with AI outputs. I know that you're working in an ed context and not, a medical context, but any thoughts that you have there?
I just answered real quick because I have to run to class, but try perplexity.ai, and because it provides the links to all of the sources that it used for its response. So you can go and you can verify each source that it used. And so I really like Perplexity for a lot of ways over ChatGPT because it does that.
Yeah, I agree. I think many AI tools are not very transparent, and transparency is another ethical considerations when we use AI. But however, I think we need to, as educators, sometimes we need to combine other literacy with AI. For example, information literacy. That's something I think every single student need to learn. Like data literacy, they need to learn how to evaluate and synthesize and communicate the information and the data in the digital world. So we have to combine those kind of knowledge with AI use. Although probably those like AI, like information literacy is not just directly with AI, but it's like provide a foundational knowledge to navigate in an AI-driven world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I think about that question in the setting of clinical nurse practitioners, I think even explicitly teaching and inviting them to evaluate the outputs for reliability, that's a moment to, bring them into the conversation about how AI might support or might not support their practice in their program. So yeah, we're just about at time, and I think we can conclude there. Erin, I'll just say thank you so much again to our panelists for joining us. It's really been amazing watching our faculty develop these innovative assignments, and I'll thank Erin also for inviting us to present here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I really do appreciate everyone sharing, and I thank all the participants for your time and attention as well. I have put a link in the chat to where you can find all of our session recordings for all of the webinars that we host. And here is a link to the registration. We do have another event this semester on April 23rd, and that is on COIL, which is Collaborative Online International Learning. And that might be of interest to some of the folks on the call. So again, thank you for everyone for your time today. I appreciate it.